I exactly feeling that you what are you saying, and I have seen your effort. I would like to mention that the Lebanese or those people who were engaging with you, they were lucky enough, that they had you, because in other hand, maybe there were not so many people who would like to do this kind of thing, but you did a great job, and I as a museum professional, thankful too. So in Iran, as you mentioned exactly the word of opportunity, this crisis exactly was an opportunity for museums in Iran to go beyond their walls. Sometimes I, as a museum professional, was looking for something and I didn't find it on even website or any other virtual link, and now they are kind of accessible beyond their walls. So maybe for those of who have heard of who have already had digitize not only the collection but also the stories behind the collection, very much easier. But it was a big challenge to organize a museum live visit during pandemic for them. Then I think, yeah, in most of the museums, they were trying to at least to have a live visit, and in the some of them they were trying to make podcasts. One of them was the Museum of Terracotta and Glassware Museum of Iran. They were creating podcasts which were related to 7 love stories in Persian literature, and it was kind of innovation, but or also some digital participation from National Museum or any other museum that they could handle this kind of thing, or there was a kind of campaign from museum curator that they were they are finding some object which is representing of hope, and they are sharing it through the Instagram account, because Instagram is much popular in Iran more than Facebook or any other platform. And they are telling that there is their stories which is connected to the story of that object, and the name of this program is the Museum for Hope. As it is kind of happen in most of the museums, I mean most of the country across the globe, artwork recreation. It didn't go beyond, but sometimes I am thinking that all us as a museum community is still talking to ourselves. And as I was checking that's lives which they uploaded in some Iranian platform, it has viewed around 6,000. And
not bad at all.
yeah,
it's a good number.
That's a good number, but for 18 million people, I don't think so. We have also the same issue as you have. It is not a poor connection, but the internet connection is kind of expensive. So watching all of the live visits of the museum, I don't think so. It would be possible for most of the people. So I would like to ask you, as you were saying that they were in Lebanon they were losing this chance or opportunity. Do you have any thing in your mind that regarding that when would be the reopening, or anything related to post-crisis?
Well, yes, the government, they issued last week a 5 phases plan of reopening the country. So the museums are scheduled to reopen on the 8th of June, like in a month from now, approximately. But we are still waiting for the second wave of the COVID-19 virus. So we don't know for sure if the museums are going to be like, you know, capable of opening on the 8th of June. And if so, also, because from what I was reading from experiences from all around the world, like in Singapore, Hong Kong, well, the reopening of the museums it was not easy at all. It was challenging, you know, because it costs a lot to disinfect each day, you know, and to maintain all, you know, the rules and regulations and all the measurements. So, and you are not also receiving as many visitors as you used to do before, as you used to have before, because simply people are still scared to go out to public places. And mainly in Lebanon, like museums, especially the national museums, receive like their main, you know, visitors are school students. So, and the schools are still closed. Also scheduled maybe to open in June, now of reopening the schools. And parents also are refusing to send, you know, their children to school. So, so mainly the museum visitors are school students. So if you are going to reopen the museum in June and you are not receiving enough visitors, this is also problematic. How are you going to, you know, maintain all this? How are you going to pay your staff, and how are you going to pay for all, you know, the new rules, regulations, and also we don't have a plan. Like I didn't see any plan published anywhere about how are you going to manage all this when you reopen your museum. So like, for example, for restaurants, they are going to reopen, but they are allowed only to like receive 30%, you know, visitors, not 100% full house. So are they going to do the same for museums? We don't know yet, you know, we don't know. And I know that from schools and teachers and parents, they are not so excited to go visit, you know, a public place now with their children. So I know that you know, they are not going to receive a lot of visitors. And plus, if they, you know, go back to schools, they have a lot of, you know, studying to do. So they will not be like, you know, any possibility to do outdoor activities, you know, and to organize outings to museums. So this year doesn't look good at all. And so far I can't, the problem is I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, it's still blurry, and I guess it's like that everywhere, you know. I'm not being pessimistic, I'm just being realistic, you know, and it's a new adventure, you know. It's frightening, but for me it's also exciting, you know, because we are exploring new ways, different ways, you know, of, you know, communicating, of making our, you know, museums, our role in society, you know, as museum educators. We are exploring new ways of making it relevant to everybody. So I don't know. I'm not sure about how the future of museums and our future also as museum educators will look like in 2021. But I don't know. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Regarding that school visit that you were talking about, at the same time I was thinking that it just could be a recommendation, or better to say suggestion, that museums who would like to, I mean, which one of them would like to, they can start to produce content for the school to distribute it to the children. If they were not lucky enough or successful enough to engage with the children through their social media, through their website, they have at least a link with the museum. I have been working at the museum, and I know that there are the numbers of the schools that maybe or any connection with the schools that museum have, so they can share it with the schools, and then they distribute it to the children. And if you want, we can make a connection. But if from the beginning they were saying, no, let's just forget it, at post crisis we will see what will happen, or this kind of thing, no. So a last question I would like to ask, which museum do you suggest if anyone after this crisis can visit Lebanon?
Wow. So, of course, the National Museum of Beirut, this is the number one, of course. I also would recommend two university museums. One is the Prehistory Museum of St. Joseph University, and the second is the Archaeological Museum of the American University of Beirut. I would also recommend the Museum of Contemporary and Modern Art called Maqam, located a bit far from the capital Beirut, in my hometown. So it's not far from Byblos, from Jbeil. So also those are like the top 4 for me, personally. But also there's the Sirso Museum, and you have also some private nice museums south of Lebanon, but the major 4 for me are, the ones I mentioned.